Hello, this is Timelines, Past Lives, and Your Soul Path. This is part two in my Spiritual Awakening series. You can find part one and any others in this series that I've published, linked to in the video description. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm Nilu of Spirit of Lotus, and you can find out more about me and what I do on my website at spiritoflotus.com. We all have infinite timelines. What exactly is a timeline, and why is this important to understanding your soul's journey? You can think of timelines as possibilities or life paths, or more accurately, different frequency patterns of choice. A timeline is essentially the path your soul has its point of focus on right now. It's the choices you make and the moments in time those choices create that you consciously perceive as your current existential reality. It's a sequence of choices and consequences strung together within the same perceived era of time. Imagine you're sitting on a rowboat in a winding river. From that rowboat, you only see your immediate area. This represents your ability to perceive only the current present moment you're experiencing. But if you travel upwards to get a bird's eye view, you can now see that the river winds and stretches endlessly in both directions. You can see that the entire river exists simultaneously, even though from your perspective down in the rowboat, you could only see your immediate surroundings. Only being able to see your immediate surroundings doesn't mean the rest of the river doesn't also exist in that moment you're in. It just means that you have a limited ability to perceive it from that rowboat, meaning your life path and choices and entire existence all exist simultaneously. But from the human perspective, you're limited to only being able to perceive one point of focus at a time. Now, expanding this bird's eye view even higher, you can see that this is not just one long single stretch of river with a couple of forks. There are a lot of forks in the river. There are tributaries, and there are little side streams that flow into bigger rivers that then split off into even more streams and rivers endlessly and infinitely. These rivers and streams are not filled with flowing water, but flowing energetic frequencies. And each one is a bit different than the next. And all of this exists within the cosmic field of infinite consciousness and infinite potential, as all that exists is created from consciousness. The river that you are currently floating down is of a frequency that you are choosing to live and uphold right now. Your daily pattern of choices resonate at a particular frequency, and you are moving down the river or timeline that is a match for that frequency. When you come along to a fork in the river, you notice that each fork has a different frequency as well. And what choice you make dictates what frequency you'll resonate at going forward, which will be a match to the flow that you have moved into. From this expanded view, you can see the pattern of choices that you've made throughout your existence that led you to the spot you're focused on right now. If at any time you had made a different choice, you would have taken a different side stream or fork and ended up in an entirely different river, or rather, timeline. When I say your pattern of choices dictate your frequency, what I mean is the choices that you make every day, the actions you take every day, will determine the dominant frequency pattern you resonate at, which may or may not be in alignment with the frequency of your soul. Your soul path is the timeline or pattern of choices that resonates at the same frequency as your divine soul blueprint. And this doesn't only pertain to what you do for a living or what your hobbies are, but all areas of life and how you choose to show up in the world. The river example is a simplification of timelines and frequency paths, but I use it to try and illustrate the concept of timelines and time and how choices and actions directly affect where you are, where you're going, and even where you've been. Timelines is a concept used to understand our choice patterns and trajectories and how making shifts affects our dominant frequency, our future trajectory, and even what past timelines are in our awareness and affecting our current perspective. It shows how the frequency of our actions and reactions resonate both from the past into our present and future, and also from our present time into the future and even back into our past. Changing timelines not only changes where you are and your future trajectory, but it changes your past trajectory as well. And this is why I have to include how past lives tie into all of this, but I will get to that in just a bit. Timelines don't have distinct boundaries like a river. They are actually more of a gradient of different frequencies of existence. As we make small changes, we start to shift our frequency and therefore our timeline, little bits at a time. We don't necessarily jump from one to the next all at once. Furthermore, I use the images and the terminology like jump to give context in a way that is comprehensible. Timelines don't actually exist in a particular location, nor do you actually go anywhere when you change timelines. It's more like you manifest this new version of reality into your consciousness, bringing you a new perception, new awareness, and access to new experiences and opportunities that weren't in your previous version of reality. You bring the new frequency to yourself and your current experience as a soul incarnated into a physical body. You don't get transported somewhere else. Of course, in addition to making gradual shifts, we absolutely can make big jumps, quantum leaps, and collapse timelines. In fact, people do so quite often. Big life changes can shift your reality from where it's been to something completely different in a moment, or what feels like a moment. An example of this is when my house flooded in 2019. I was moving along on the timeline that I had shifted into and gotten quite comfortable with, all the while knowing that was not where I was meant to stay. The massive shift that happened in the few minutes that it took an intense freak storm to force water into my house as I watched it spread across the floor, turn my world upside down. Not only did I have to temporarily move out, throw stuff out that was ruined by the water, and pack up everything that wasn't ruined and put it in storage while the house was being restored, but I knew it was time to move on to something new. I sold the house, shut down my business, and I moved 280 miles away to start a new life with my partner of over 7 years. We had carried on our relationship over long distance for a long time with a lot of commuting and travel. We bought a new house, I started a new business, and my son started a new school. Everything about my reality changed seemingly out of nowhere within a few months. And we were all in a completely different timeline with a completely different frequency to adjust to. Now, when I say we were in a new timeline, I'm referring to the collective timeline that three of us shifted into together with all these life changes. And also our individual timelines we each experience within the collective one. There are collective timelines that we share with each other in addition to our unique individual timelines we each have. Individual existential realities within collective existential realities. And there are smaller collective timelines and realities within bigger ones. But you know what? That move was a huge shift in getting me closer to the timeline that resonates at my soul frequency. Now, I could have simply restored the house, replaced the ruined things, and put everything else back, moved back in, and resumed rowing down the timeline river I was already in. I could have done that, but also I simply couldn't. Physically, yes, but intuitively, I knew this was my way of pushing myself out and in the direction I needed to go. Sometimes we make it easy and just do what we feel called to, and other times we wait for the flood to come before making the move. The ego wants to stay put to keep us safe, while the higher self knows it's time to make changes. And so we manifest a dramatic shift opportunity. Am I saying I flooded my own house? Well, from the human perspective, one would say that wasn't possible. A tornado caused a storm that flooded the street and my yard and poured water into my house. Interestingly, my house was the only one on the block that flooded that day. Coincidence? I don't know, but how could I have created that? We are the divine creators of our own reality. And when your awareness expands to fully encompass that, you can start to understand the mechanisms behind these kinds of events. It's not something done from the conscious human mind. From a divine perspective, you could say my higher self set that up as a failsafe to push me along the correct path in the event I became complacent, which I had. Life was good, it was stable, but also it was stagnant. We aren't here to be stagnant. We're here to create. Stagnation drains your life force. It keeps you from your soul path. It kills growth and expansion. Creation and momentum nourish the soul and fuel the soul's journey. The flood shook me out of my complacency and inspired me to start thinking about what I wanted to shift into next. What did I want to create? What felt like the next aligned move? Where I was at that point in my life was meant to be a stepping stone, not the final destination. Our souls want us to remember who we really are and why we're here. They want us to shift our 3D reality to match our true divine frequency. That means living a life that reflects your soul purpose. And if you're in this river over here, but the one that resonates at your soul frequency is way over there, you're going to have to make new choices to keep changing timelines until you get to the one that matches. This means making new choices, creating new habits and patterns, healing from old traumas that keep you locked into incongruent patterns, removing karmic blocks, shedding old beliefs and programming, and consciously choosing your reactions to the world around you. It means ditching the many forms of self-sabotage keeping you small. Now, looking again at the expanded view of our rivers and streams of life, you see where you currently are, which is your soul's current point of focus. You see everything that's behind you and all the possible choices ahead of you. What's behind you is the pattern of choices you previously made that led you to the point where you are right now, both from your current life and your past lives. Nonetheless, you see that there are plenty of other rivers running parallel to the one you're in, and there are plenty of other rivers running parallel to the ones you rode down in the past. Let's say you make some new choices a few times, and from this perspective, it appears you took some side streams and found your way to a new river. Here's something curious that can happen. When you make significant shifts in your timeline, your normal daily operating frequency changes. Not only does it change the trajectory that you were on for your future, but it also changes which past timelines are relevant to you now. This can actually cause a change in your past lives and even changes your perspective of the past of your current life, therefore shifting the pathway your soul took, so to speak, to get you to your new point of focus. It's not that you ditch the past lives or past experiences that you had. It's that your awareness and consciousness expands in such a way that gives you access to other parallel timelines and those experiences as well. And this new part of your journey requires the lessons and choices from those alternate past timelines for you to continue moving forward and growing and expanding on this new timeline. So, for example, if you had a past life reading before making the shift, and it was revealed that you were a Catholic nun 5 lifetimes ago, you may find that a new past life reading would yield different results after the shift. Maybe now you were a military general 5 lifetimes ago. But guess what? It's actually both. Your previous experiences don't simply go away. You expand, and your consciousness becomes more multidimensional. This is because time doesn't exist in the linear, limited fashion in which we experience it while incarnated in a physical 3D body. All of those parallel, intertwining timelines exist simultaneously, happening all the time at the same time. They are all a part of your soul's story, the infinite journey of growth, awareness, experiences, and expansion. What shows up in a reading is what is relevant to your point of consciousness and awareness right now within that vast, numinous, etheric web of your existence. Nothing is absolute, and our souls are limitless in what they can experience and what we can experience. When your consciousness and awareness shift and expand, what is relevant does too. When you process your experiences fully and release and heal old karmic blocks and traumas, which is reflected in your new choices, perceptions, and reactions, you move into a new timeline and begin accessing new other past timelines. That also means, of course, that you activate other old karmic blocks to clear from this new past timeline you're accessing, if any are still there. These can show up from past lives or from your current life because they're now relevant to this new leg of your journey, which brings new blocks to release and grow from, new experiences to learn and expand from. That's why the process of spiritual awakening, karmic healing, and soul evolution seems like a spiral, going into ever deeper and deeper layers until you eventually reach the core of your true divine soul. When all the shadows and blocks and everything that is not authentically you is cleared away, and your thoughts, actions, and reactions are completely in alignment with your divine soul blueprint, that's when you reach enlightenment within your human experience, so to speak. Though enlightenment is simply another step in a soul's journey, which is infinite and ever expanding. Just as your past timelines can shift as a result of changes in your current timeline, you can change your current timeline by making changes in the past. We don't have time machines here on Earth just yet, but we do have the quantum timeline collapsing technique. Quantum timeline collapsing is a powerful method of clearing blocks that you have in your life right now by collapsing timelines of the past and shifting your experience of past events. To collapse timelines means to bring awareness and understanding of multiple timelines of the same events and experiences into your consciousness simultaneously. This expands your multidimensionality and gives you access to other versions of your experiences, as well as the altered impacts of those experiences going forward. Rather than being trapped in a singular version of reality and whatever effects that had on you, you're able to choose to access a more empowered, healed reality, and all that that new reality can manifest into your current experience. I offer free quantum timeline collapsing breakthrough calls to any who wish to experience it. These calls only take 15 to 20 minutes, done over Zoom, in which I coach you through this life-changing, or should I say, timeline shifting process. I highly, highly recommend scheduling one of these calls if you have anything blocking you from achieving what you want right now. That means any self-sabotaging patterns, from procrastination to people-pleasing to experiencing feelings of unworthiness and whatever may be holding you back. It's a powerful way to dip your toes in and experience what's really possible for you. Whatever is blocking you most right now, let's get to the root of it. The link to book a call is in the description for this video. If you feel like you're buzzing with excitement to quantum leap fully into your next timeline of divine potential, and you want the whole shebang, your full divine soul blueprint, your spiritual gifts, your soul path frequency, and to clear the entire host of energetic blocks and restrictions and karmic patterns from your current timeline and know the past life stories that they came from, then you want a divinely aligned soul session. This session tells you all you need to know about who you are at soul level, and clear everything, conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, that is holding you back. Your expansion from this session will be far beyond what most people manage in their entire lifetime, or often multiple lifetimes. The Divinely Aligned Soul session includes a detailed soul reading, and there is a lot that is brought into your consciousness with this. Coaching on shifting your frequency to be in alignment with your soul self, and a full healing protocol to clear all of the energetic and karmic blocks and restrictions that show up from your past and present lives. It's the roadmap to the maze of life, highlighting your soul path and soul gifts, turning the light on all the hidden roadblocks so that you can easily move them out of the way, and quantum leap to your highest potential. You can find more about this session at the link in the description for this video, along with a special offer for you. Thank you so much for watching my video and liking and subscribing. I appreciate it so much. Please check the description for resources and links to the other videos in this series.